everybody, welcome back to the Creator Shelf and happy Diwali to anybody who is celebrating. So yeah, good to see you all here and welcome back to all those who have subscribed and welcome to new subscribers. So for today's topic, I'm kind of like stealing a bit of an idea, which is from Tropical Island Tarot. I think that's the name of the channel. And they did a video on their favorite guidebooks. Now, I kind of like got thinking about that and then I realized I'm not sure if I'm there yet in terms of favorite guidebooks, and I'm talking specifically the companion books to tarot decks, so not reference books that we buy separately, which are also great, but these are ones that we buy and they come with the deck. Now for this video, I specifically chosen decks from different public publishers. I can't speak today. From different publishers because I just didn't want to have like 5 Llewellyn decks in there or something like that. I wanted to have kind of like a mixture. And I have chosen specifically decks that I've worked with this year. So it's not kind of like my top recommendations, full stop. It's more just like the ones that when I look back at 2021 have really struck out at me. And I think, yeah, it would be good to mention these. So first and foremost, it's going to be a deck that I absolutely love and adore. And sorry, before I go into it, let me just roll back a second. Before I go into it, I want to explain one huge disclaimer. I don't read the guidebook fully at the beginning. That doesn't happen. And I don't think yet I've actually read through a whole guidebook ever, full stop. The companion guidebook, by the way, specifically. And there is a big reason for that. And I know that I've heard a lot of people say, you must read the guidebook, you must read the guidebook. I will not read the guidebook entry before I've looked at the card, and this is a big thing for me. So I'm going to give you an explanation of why, and I need to use a tarot deck for that, and the deck that I'm going to use to explain that, which is not out of my top guidebooks for this year, or however I want to say it, but it's the one that I'm going to use for explanation, is the Crow Tarot. This is a deck from MJ Cullinan, and I'm just going to pull it out as an example of why I don't want to read the guidebook entry before I've seen the card. That's the best way I can put it. So here's an example of the Sun card. Beautiful card, absolutely gorgeous, so ornate. When I see this right now, which is not going to be the same if you ask me the same question a week later, but right now, if I look at this card, the first thing I'm going to see is that crow has something in its beak. It's like it's won something. It's running away with something. It's got this victorious feeling, and it's that sun energy right behind it. So it's like that halo effect as it's kind of like shooting off, or the horse looks actually quite stagnant, but it's like the crow in motion of just in flight, and it's got something in its beak. And so if I was reading the card alone or as like a querence inquiry, for some reason right now, I would be focusing on that whatever it's got in its mouth, and I would be thinking in those terms. And for me, that's really, really vital. And I know that the author will have ideas around the sunflowers, around that white horse, around the whole halo effect, why they've chosen to paint it that way. I'm pretty sure there will be certain other aspects of the card that I've missed that I will get so much from when reading the entry. But as I'm reading it, it's just really important for me to have that freshness of eyes. Another example can be here, the Queen of Swords, right? So I love this card, but and I love this deck, as many of you know. But here, right now, when I'm looking at it, it's the wreath underneath her feet that my eyes have gone straight to. Now, it might be more to do with the throne, or the author might have lots of symbols in here that I do need to take into account, but as I read it and interpret it, my eyes went to those flowers, that vine, whatever's at the bottom of her feet. And yeah, so this is why I think it's just so important for me to have that fresh feeling, and even sometimes journal about it, write it. When I'm doing a reading for someone, I initially have to take those interpretations, and I don't necessarily want to read the guidebook, especially if it's like a question coming from someone like, this is a situation, and what are the energies, which way should I go, or a decision. I want to pull out those bits that I'm seeing very, very quickly first and foremost. Of course, tying it in with the key, again, if we go back to here, the Queen of Swords, we're looking at analysis, we're looking at a real sharpness of mind, the ability to cut through again, the ability to quell those emotions as a decision is made. I take it as an embodiment of all of that suits energies, but really being able to have that majestic power and control over them. And I want to be able to read that card as it stands at that moment. And the guidebook is amazing, but it's kind of like, for me, the relationship between me and the image that comes first. Saying all of that, they might think, well, why did you do a video about guidebooks? I do think that guidebooks do offer a freshness of feeling and insight from the author, and I have used them definitely, and I have a lot of fun looking at guidebook entries as well. Actually, the word here is fun. So the first guidebook that I want to kind of like focus on for today is Tarot of the She. This is a Schiffer publication. It's a little white book, and you might be thinking, well, what am I going to get from a little white book? But bear with me. I love this deck because, you know, the imagery is gorgeous, right? So we've all seen the imagery a lot of times, but this is why I like the guidebook. So let me find a card for you. And I don't want, let's take Warrior 5. So that is the 5 of Wands traditionally. So Warrior 5, we have a keyword, which is action frustrated. So why I like this deck is that when we go into the guidebook, now let me find the guidebook again. Here it is. When we go into the guidebook, where is Warrior 5? Warrior 5, Warrior 5. Now, this is a guidebook where the minors and the court cards, the entries is less than the majors. So it has that aspect, but this is why I like it, right? It comes with a little prose. The author, by the way, is Emily Carding. That's the creator of this deck. Emily Carding, who did ink drawings, and these are the ink drawings as she created them. They're not redone or adapted later on. This is just what she did, and that's what we see. So, good God, it's a bit of a mess. But I like the fact that there's a little prose. And then there's keywords. So for Warrior 5, we have, and let me go back to the card. Here it is. So here's the card. It says, the warrior's path is rarely smooth. There are always obstacles to remove. But when frustration burns too bright, no, all can wait till time is right. I mean, I think that's absolutely beautiful. I love the prose. I love that poetry. And then we have keywords, but that's why I wanted to mention this deck, and I think it's just worth getting a copy of it. It's just beautiful. It's got that Celtic Fae energy, which is just gorgeous. It takes me into another world. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the author's work, not just in terms of the imagery, but also in terms of that little white book. Just so you know that the major arcana has more. But I chose even the little nuggets that you get from a minor arcana from the Tarot of the She guidebook, because it just shows you that thought was put into this process when developing it. Okay, moving swiftly on, let's go to a deck that I bought last year, but has really, really stuck in my mind. And this is a deck called the Bohemian Animal Tarot. Now, I didn't really get to this deck until sometime this year. So, yeah, and I haven't done a month deep dive into it, which I'm thinking I might do next year. This is a Rockpool deck. Yeah, Rockpool Publishing. It is a Rockpool Animal Tarot deck. I don't know that many Rockpool, I can't speak today, Rockpool Tarot tarot decks. So it's interesting that I have this one. Now, I originally picked up this deck because I'd seen Matt from Tubby Tarot do kind of like a walkthrough of it. I think he got it for his birthday or for Christmas or something last year. And I saw it and I was like, oh, I'd love to have that. This is an absolutely gorgeous deck. It comes with this shiny matte gilding, which some of you might want to take off. I don't know. I've kept mine on for now. But these are the cards which I love. I think it's pencil. It's pencil as the medium. It's just gorgeous. It really kind of like, yeah, it's animal heads on people basically, but I love it. Not necessarily actually, sorry, sometimes, yeah. So let's go into the guidebooks though, because that's what it's about, right? So the guidebook to this is one of those large guidebooks. Now, where are you again? Oh, there you are. So this is the guidebook. And let's take an entry. So I've got the King of Fire here, so that's a court card, so that's good. We did, with the Tower of the She, we did a minor, so let's do a court card now. Yeah, King of Fire. And let me just go and find the King of Fire in here. Nine of Fire. Yep, here he is, King of Fire. What it will do is give you the element, but it also gives you keywords, and then it goes into the archetype, which I think is amazing, the animal archetype. And so I find that really, really intriguing. So the king, was it the King of, no, this is the King of Water, sorry. This is me rushing, this is what happens. King of Water. King of, sorry. Why is it going a bit, it's gone a bit strange here. Hold on a second. Where are you? Here he is, the King of Fire. So there you go. So we've got here the keyword, we've got the animal archetype. And the animal archetype here is the lizard, basically. And it gives an entry on the lizard, but then it goes into card description. Then it goes into its place within the four kings. And then it goes into divinatory meaning. Wait, let me go on again. And then it goes on to, bear with me a second. It goes into, yeah, the divinatory meaning. And I'm so impressed. Actually, the bit that I'm most impressed with is the animal archetype. Well, the rest is really good too. But, you know, it's an animal deck that's actually basically made use of the fact that it's an animal deck, and why, you know, we're putting salamanders here. Well, we all know that salamander is part of the whole fire family. It's a symbol of the element, but I just like the fact that they've done, you know, the author here. So written by Scott Alexander King and illustrated by Sharon McLeod. It is just, yeah, it's really well thought through. It really adds to the tarot practice. So I do like going back and reading something like that. I do think it would add a lot to my understanding. But like I said before, you know, if I pick up this card, first and foremost, I might be drawn to that tree more than anything else. And then I come into the rest of it. It just depends on the time. But a guidebook like this is just phenomenally helpful, I think. And I would recommend this deck because I think that for me, as I've dipped into this deck now, every now and then, it's actually really strengthened my understanding of that card overall. So definitely worth checking out. So the next deck that I want to show is, I wanted to show a Llewellyn deck because I've done so many Llewellyn monthly reviews, but this is one that I haven't done a monthly review of, but I did still find interesting, which is the Mermaid Tarot. Now, I know some people are kind of like, oh, it's one of those decks, you know, like, yes, I don't know if I can see the D word, but you know what the D word is, but it is very, very youngish, definitely. It's very cartoony in that sense. But it's a deck by Lisa Robertson, illustrated by Julie Dillon, and I know it sounds really weird, but I really like this deck for family readings because it's got that gentleness and it's got a very family feel to it. I think anyway. I think it's got very, within the community, within society, that feeling of being within the waters of the mermaids, but within the community of the mermaids and mermen. And I really love the cards. The cards really, really do well in a spread. I don't know how else to say it, but when I put them in a spread, they really just talk to each other so well, and I can get a very good understanding or grasp of a message from these cards. But we're here about the guidebook, and this is one of those Llewellyn guidebooks which I think does stand up to the test of time. It's very basic, so I'm not going to go into kind of like, you know, it says a lot. It actually doesn't. But for once, I want to say that it's good because it doesn't say a lot. It doesn't overwhelm the reader. So, for example, for the Ten of Cups, first of all, you get a beautiful illustration here. But what I like about it is you get kind of like a little bit here, but then you get upright, and then you get a lot in terms of reversal. And many guidebooks, they just don't have that much meat when it comes to reversals. And I appreciated this guidebook for really, like, not just doing like 2 keywords, and you're like, okay, great. And for that reason, this is a great deck. If you are new and you are interested in reversals, or even if you're not new but want to do something more with reversals, you know, like I have a way of reading reversals, and I don't really use reversals. People are like, do you use them? I don't actually, but some decks, I know it sounds really strange, but there are a few decks where somehow the cards rearrange themselves. Now you're going to think, what? But I've had that happen with a few decks specifically, enough to know that the deck is, it's almost like it's requesting, it gets read with reversals. It's almost like, okay. So sounds strange, but true. So, but I like the fact that there is a huge chunk for reversals because, you know, it's always welcome rather than 2 lines basically. So, and in some guidebooks, there's nothing on the reversal. So kudos to Lisa Robertson for making that effort. And the illustrations, for me, I like them. Like I said, I wouldn't, of course, read too much, you know, inappropriately in terms of family, but I like it when it's family situations and I can use this deck. It really just, yeah, there's something to it that I love. A deck that I acquired recently, because it's only been 2 days, as you all know, and it kicked my ass on Wednesday with that You in the Tarot, is the Lightseers deck. Now, the reason why I've included this is that it is a Chris Ann deck, published by Hay House. So, of course, as you know, the Mermaid Tarot that I just said here, this is a Llewellyn deck, and I'm trying to disperse in terms of public publishing houses. So this is a Hay House Tarot deck. Now, the reason why I chose this specifically, there's also the Muse tarot deck, which I already have, is because I wanted a deck with Chris Ann's writing. And this is when you again realize that I can't open the damn box. But there we go. Got it open finally. But the reason why, again, I like this guidebook is, again, here are the images, which you all now know because I've already used it just recently, this deck. It's very new to me, but this is why I quickly decided to use this for my guidebook kind of like video today. And that's because when I looked at the guidebook, so now let me take, not a cock, we've done court cards, we've done minors. I want to find a major arcana. Here it is, the wheel. So when I go into the guidebook, let's find the wheel now. Okay, let me see if I'm going to find the wheel again. Just put down the decks. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find it again. Can I find it again? No, hold on a moment. Let me see. This is what happens when we're doing videos all over the place. Am I going to find? Oh, here she is. Okay, so this is the wheel, which I just took out, and here is. So the guidebook has Light Seer and Shadow Seer. So again, we're at like upright reversals, however you want to put it, but different aspects of the same card. And it has that right at the top before Chris Ann goes into the explanation. And I appreciated that. And then it goes into a couple of paragraphs about the card, but then finally it has a quote here right at the end, which I'm going to read out. And the quote says, for the wheel card, it says, I allow the transformative energies of fate help me to expand my experience. And I like it, you know, that's an affirmation basically. So I really, I was kind of like taken aback by the thought process put into this guidebook, which is there definitely, as much as the illustrations are there. And of course, as a little white book goes, it's amazing because it doesn't overwhelm. And I know a lot of people will love this, especially as their first tarot deck, which, yeah. So kudos to Chris Ann for the guidebook. I do appreciate it so far. And yeah, I wanted to include it today. So finally, I saved my favorite for last because, yep, I had to. And this is a deck that I've just recommended a few times to friends as well recently. And I had to. It's the deck that basically, when I was really depressed, like earlier this year, this is the deck that just I had to use, which was the Herbcraft's Tarot. It wasn't a deck that I initially wanted to buy or anything, but somebody recommended it, and to be quite honest with you, I was like, at the time it was like 20 euros. I was like, yeah, whatever. Clicked on Amazon. I was like, at this moment, the way I feel, it can only get better. That's what was in my head. It was like, I'll give it a try, sure, whatever. So this is the Herbcrafters Tarot. And first and foremost, let's see the images, because the images are just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Look at this. Look at this. So this is the Idolater of Water, which is, as I recall, a knight in this deck. Six of Water, Barrage. Here we go. Five of Water, Golden Seal. Doesn't look like, have I mixed this? Have I mixed these enough? I'm getting, here's the Moon. God. Datura. And let's take another one. Curandra of Fire. I can't recall. I think that's the Queen. And it says Damiana. Just 21 the world. Pachamama. Just, oh God, beautiful. But let's get to the guidebook. Now, this is a deck artwork by Joanna Powell Colbert and written by Letitia Guthrie. Now, I can't recall specifically because the backstory, I think, is that this deck was conceived around a retreat or a special space that they were in. I know that Joanna Powell Colbert, of course, has done the Gaian Tarot, which I understand this is a spin-off and they call it the Daughter of the Gaian Tarot. I bought this. I didn't even know about the Gaian Tarot at the time. I think I knew about it, but it just like lots of people. I just bought this deck and I fell in love. And because of that, now I have actually gone and bought the Gaian Tarot as well. But I haven't used it, by the way, yet. The Gaian Tarot I'm talking about. But let's just take one of these cards. So let's take Idolater of Fire. Idolater of Fire, which is Cayenne. And let's look at this Knight. It's a Knight energy, as I recall. Yeah. So what it does is it gives a little blurb here at the top, a couple of paragraphs, and then prompts called Crafting with the Idolater of Fire. So I'm just going to read out what it says here right at the top because it's so beautiful. It says, dare to take a risk, be bold, defend the integrity of the grandmother's teachings, heat erupts, then heals. So then it says, a young woman makes a spicy vinegar called fire cider. She gathers ingredients, garlic, onion, horseradish, ginger, rosemary, thyme, cayenne, and vinegar. She grips the side of the molcajet, I don't know how to pronounce that, with one hand while crushing peppers with the other. The golden winter sun casts a divine glow in her workspace. And then it goes into, and I can't read it all out because it's going to be a bit too long, but then it goes into, it just warms and connects. I feel like I'm connecting to the herb, which is amazing. And then it says crafting with the Idolater of Fire. It says stand up to corporate greed, craft your own fire cider, empower others, host community fire cider making party in your home, boost your boldness, begin each day with a shot of fire cider. I mean, yeah, it just gives these little prompts. You can also just take this and do a little journal entry and just your thoughts around the images. But yeah, I mean, you know, this guidebook, it wasn't just the deck and the imagery, of course, which is gorgeous, but the guidebook is so well thought out. And as I read the guidebook, I really felt like, you know, the author, this is her terrain, this is her territory, and she's helping me heal in some way, you know, because herbs are so healing, and it's just, it can be kind of like to the point sometimes. It's not like it's all like lovey and all that kind of stuff, but it's just got an energy of how do we go towards a solution? How do we go towards empowering ourselves, empowering others, bringing light in or bringing through this energy of healing, right? And it just came at a time in my life where I really needed it. And it's a bit like the Everyday Witch Tarot, which I haven't put in here because I thought it might just make everybody really sick right now, or the Druid Craft. But it's like another deck where it hit the spot just when I needed it. So really appreciating the Herbcrafters Tarot's guidebook specifically, because this video is about guidebook. So I'm going to stop there. We're nearly 25 minutes in. A big disclaimer, this is not about my favorite guidebooks. Again, just repeating, these are guidebooks that I really noted something this year These are tarot decks because I'm going to milk this tag. I'm gonna do an oracle deck one as well, so you know that's coming. But I just thought it was a really good idea. I don't think there's technically a hashtag for it. I don't know if I should be creating one. I think Tropical Island Tarot didn't have a hashtag, but you know, I'll see if I can create one. But I hope you enjoyed this. If you have comments, please leave them below. If you're also doing your own YouTube videos, maybe you have guidebooks that you really resonated with this year in 2021 that you want to talk about or highlight. I know we're already getting to the end of this year, so it's like, oh my god, that's gone so fast. But you know, it's for me, it's been a really weird year. Like, I just knew at the beginning of this year there was a lot of talk of like, yeah, we've left 2020 and we've left all of that behind, and I was just like, let's just see. And it's just been rocky and sometimes, you know, really, really difficult and challenging. But I think the guidebooks for some of these decks, you know, for these decks have been really helpful because, like I say, I don't read them back to front from the beginning or anything, but I really do like to use them as a reflection. Part of my tarot journaling, which I think I need to do another video about, is that I actually just write keywords or key thoughts that come into my mind initially when I read the card, and then below it I do a section called book. And it's actually just like then taking from the book what I got out of it. And that way I have like an idea of like, okay, what was my own initial thinking? Sometimes they match, sometimes they don't. Sometimes I'm like, oh, it was a different idea the author had. But that's why I'm saying that for me, it's just really important to have that freshness and openness when I first read the cards. So anyway, really long now, so 27 minutes nearly. Thank you for joining me this evening. I'm wishing you all a wonderful November as we go towards kind of like that winter solstice for us here in the Northern Hemisphere. I know it's going to start heating up in the Southern Hemisphere, but whichever way it is, I'm wishing you a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye now.